Good morning, everybody. Please let me know if you can hear me well. Sounds very good. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Viktoria Bobyleva. I am Basic Education Manager here at Washington State Board of Education. Hello. So I am joining this seminar today, this webinar today, together with our Executive Director, Dr. Randy Spaulding, our Research Director, Dr. Andrew Parr, and our Director of Communications, Stephanie Davidsmeyer. Welcome, everybody. So we have this webinar today titled Annual Minimum Basic Education Requirement Compliance and District Survey Steps for Successful Completion. It's a very long title, the name. To save us some space and time, we will just call it the survey throughout the presentation. As you have probably noticed, I have a unique accent. If you have any questions about the presentation, please save them till the end of the presentation. You will have an opportunity to ask all your questions. So let's proceed now with the webinar, and we're going to move on to our next slide. As I have briefly mentioned, we have a goal of learning how to successfully complete and submit the survey. We have several questions that we're going to answer one by one throughout this presentation. So what is the minimum basic education requirement compliance and district survey? What's actually the essence of the survey that needs to be completed and submitted? So why is the basic education compliance matrix required in order to successfully submit the survey? What is the certificate of conditional or full compliance? What is the deadline for submission? Will I get any feedback after I submit the survey? And how do I ask for help if I need any help? Well, to begin with, I would like to provide citations to several of the codes of the state of Washington, and provide a little bit of a background why we are citing this specific statutes and rules. One of them is RCW 28.8.150.220. It's about basic education and minimum instructional requirements. It states that the State Board of Education shall adopt rules to implement and ensure compliance with the program requirements imposed by this section. The second one that I'm going to quote is RCW 28.8.150.250. This one is about annual basic education allocation. It's a little bit longer, but it's very important. So I would really like to quote it here, to set it here. If a school district's basic education program fails to meet the basic education requirements, the State Board of Education may recommend to the Superintendent of Public Instruction that the superintendent will hold state funds in whole or in part for the basic education allocation. And the final one is Washington Administrative Code 180.16.195 that states that in the event a school district has not complied with the basic education law, a certificate of non-compliance must be issued in accordance with a different WAC. So basically those three citations talk about the fact that as a state agency, the Washington State Board of Education must ensure compliance with the basic education law. In case this compliance cannot be assured, a certificate of non-compliance, a recommendation to the state superintendent must be made, and a certification of non-compliance must be issued. So far, this has never happened in the history of the board, but it's in the rule and we must follow the rule. So how do we ensure compliance with the basic education law? We do it with the help of our survey. So the minimum basic education requirement compliance and district survey and the certification of compliance with the program of basic education. They are the responsibility of the Washington State Board of Education. Please, if you have any questions, problems, if you need help associated with the survey and with the certification of compliance, address those questions and things to us. So the survey is the annual data collection tool, and it allows us to confirm compliance by collecting responses to the survey questions. Actually, the survey is intended to inform districts of requirements and recommendations that are in the law. You can consider it as an opportunity, a great opportunity for self-education. And reason for that, I will present a little bit further. And I hope it will become pretty evident for everybody who is going to look at the pages of the survey together with me today. And the second goal is to gather information that helps us, the board, promote the system that best serves and meets the goals of the basic education for all the students in our state. The survey actually incorporates the basic education matrix, and I'm going to start talking about it and talk about it for an extended period of time today, because this is very important to understand what is at the very core of the survey. The survey is no longer located in the package 600 in iGrants. Some of you probably remember the times, the good old times when you were filling out the survey in this package 600 iGrants. It's impossible to do that anymore. It's unavailable. It doesn't exist anymore. So the survey is actually distributed through the link that we send to each and every school district in our annual informational letter, and you have probably received it because you are here with us today. As we're going to move forward, we are looking at the basic education matrix that I have just mentioned. As we proceed with our slides, we can see that the basic education compliance matrix actually lists all the required educational offerings. And basic education compliance is established through district attestation that all the required educational offerings are provided. The basic education compliance matrix has 4 criteria for recommendation, and I would really like you to focus on them with me at the moment. The first one is the mandated criterion. Sometimes we call it the mandatory criterion. It's all the same. It's just a little bit of a modification. So the mandated criterion shows the elements that must be present within the educational program in every school district. The required criterion describes elements which have an explicit basic education or compulsory education reference in statute and is present or not present, and it factors into the compliance recommendation. Notification criterion describes elements that are related to basic education. They appear elsewhere in the statute and do not have an explicit basic education reference. They do not factor into the compliance recommendation. Encouraged criterion describes elements that are encouraged. That's just the name of them, right? So they are encouraged in the statute. They do not factor into the compliance recommendation, okay? If we look at all these 4 criteria and place them actually into the table, we can see the matrix in the next slide. Yeah, lists very organize all the basic education elements in 4, well, let's call them columns. Mandated criterion or mandatory, as you can see it. required, notification, and encouraged. I may read probably read out a few basic elements located in the mandatory category. So some of them are minimum 180-day school year, grades K-12 minimum instructional hours, high school and beyond plan, credit and subject area graduation requirements, minimum college entrance, and graduation pathway options. So the short one. Okay. So you can find the metrics both posted on our website. I'm going to talk about our website later today. You will find the link to the matrix embedded into the actual survey, the link to which you have received. The matrix is provided, I believe, on the copy of the sample survey, which is available also on our website. I will be talking about the survey extensively today, so you will have an opportunity to see, and probably some of the questions that I can see popping in into our chat will be answered right away as I'm talking about it. So when you look at the metrics, you will see that there's a very extended document attached to it. We call it the descriptor. Sometimes we refer to it as basic education elements descriptor or basic education offerings descriptor. It's all the same. Here, I'm going to provide just one page of it. It has quite a few pages, but what it does is that in the next slide, you will see that it lists pretty much all the elements that are on the matrix, provides direct citation from the statutes and rules. And as you can see, some of the positions are, some of the options are circled in red. So these are the WASDA model policies that are available for specific educational offerings that you can refer to. And of course, all the links to statutes and rules are embedded. They're clickable. You can click on them and familiarize yourself with all the statutes. As I mentioned, it's a very informative document that is attached to the matrix. As we move on and talk about the matrix, I would like to give a few examples, just a few examples to illustrate the core component of the survey. Well, for example, if a school district establishes compliance with the mandatory and required, but only with some notification criteria, it's recommended for a full certification. And district will be notified of the potential issues, of course, as we communicate with you. If a school district establishes compliance with the mandatory category and with just several elements of the required, several elements of the notification elements, it's recommended for a conditional certification. And of course, the district will have to provide us with assurance of implementation of the basic education elements. And finally, if a school district is non-responsive, missing mandatory elements, does not have a plan for implementation, they will be recommended for certification of non-compliance. Yeah. As we proceed with our slides, based on the information that I have just presented to you, I would like to emphasize the topics that the survey covers. It has questions related to the elements of the matrix that we have just discussed. And in general, the topics that it covers are mostly about district contact information, the grades that are being offered in the districts, days of instruction and waivers available within the districts, instructional hours, graduation requirements, high school and beyond plan, graduation pathways, required educational offerings for all school districts, for school districts or high school, required high schools, required educational activities for all school districts, mastery-based crediting and learning, GRU waiver usage and administration. Review your responses in the very end and submit your responses. As we move on with the survey and look at our next slide, we can see that before you complete the actual survey, a sample survey is available. You can download it from our website. You can download a copy of it, the link to which is embedded in the actual survey. And when you go through it, please consider whether each of the questions that you're looking at apply to the situation in your school district. Because the system actually, the actual survey uses logic to present only the relevant questions, the questions that apply to your school district. And while you may try to invest a lot of effort and time crafting answers to all the questions on the sample survey, on the actual survey, they may not be even asked. Okay. The survey has very convenient functions or buttons such as save and continue, review your responses, and after you submit your responses to the system, an automatic email confirmation with a PDF attachment is sent to you immediately. Some of the information that you may find on this PDF attachment, basically a copy of your submission. Actually, some of the information may be presented in bold red font. It means that the information that you have submitted may have potential issues, and you need to pay attention to your submission to specific aspects that are in red bold font. As we move forward, we are going to look at the actual survey. These are the screenshots of the survey. This is the very beginning, and I'm going to illustrate the information that I have just presented to you with, well, some practical aspects of the survey completion. As you start your survey, you can see the instructions and information before you begin page. It's quite an extensive information page that has multiple links embedded to it, links to statutes, to rules. You can also see the basic education compliance metrics link embedded here. They're all circled in red for you. In the next page, you will see one of the questions that you will be answering on the actual survey. This is the section dedicated to days of instruction and waivers. As you can see, you can familiarize yourself with bulletins available on the topic, with the codes, with additional information that you can read on our page related to instructional hours, questions, and answers. Then as you go through the question, you can hit next, the button that says next, or back if you need to go back, revise some of your other answers. And in the right corner, you can see the save and continue later button, which is very handy and sometimes very important to use if you do not wish to complete the survey in one sitting and would like to come to it later. Next, we will demonstrate the situation when you provide a response that may actually have a compliance issue. In this particular case, the question was about the public high school in the district providing a program for students who have plans to pursue career or work opportunities. The answer is no, as you can see. And after that, a segment in bold red font pops up. asking for additional information to make sure whether the answer was correct or incorrect. And in case it was correct, the system asks for additional information from the respondent. And as you can see, there are 2 lines at the very bottom of the page that provide the additional response. Okay. In the very end, you will provide certification by respondent, which basically is about the basic information, the name, the contact information, the phone number, the date it is submitted. You may download a PDF version of your submission by yourself without waiting for the system. And in the very end of this process, please hit the submit button, because in so many cases, it doesn't happen. Some of the respondents prefer to download the PDF version of the survey, and they forget to submit the actual survey that they have just filled out. Okay, as we move on with our presentation, I would like to mention a few deadlines. Okay. If you submit your responses before on June 12th, and we do not have any questions or issues related to establishing your compliance, the school district will be certified in June. If it happens on or before August 1st, if you submit your responses before or on August 1st, the school district will be certified during our August meeting. The final round of certifications happen on September 7th. And all responses will need to be submitted no later than August 23rd. Our goal is to provide certification for each and every school district. We work with you to ensure compliance, for you to be educated on all the aspects of the basic education law and basic education offerings that must be present in your program of education in each district. So we encourage you to complete and submit the survey before the end of this school year. And the reason is very simple. Your staff members do not have to work with the survey during the summer or at the very beginning of the new school year, when almost every school district goes through a lot of changes. A lot of changes happens in each and every school district every fall. And we also would like to encourage you to appoint a specially designated staff member who is going to work on the survey, submit the survey, and actually communicate with us throughout the whole process of completion and certification. All right, as we move on and look at some of our communication with you. How do we communicate with you? So we have issued a notice. It was done on May 15th of this year. As you work on the survey and you complete it and submit your responses, you will receive a confirmation email, as I have mentioned, with the PDF of all your responses. Then we'll provide instructions to follow a step-by-step process to correct errors if you have any, or to contact us. We will send periodic notifications regarding updated certification status, and I'll be mentioning one of them later today. One-on-one communications with each school district to resolve any problems that you may encounter. And then we will issue a final notice to each school district regarding a recommendation for certification. As you go through this process, you may experience some problems, which probably is inevitable, right? In the next page, you will see my contact information. And you will also see a direct link to the Basic Education Compliance webpage that I am going to briefly discuss in a moment. Please do not hesitate to visit that page. It has a lot of very important information. You will benefit from doing it. As you look at the Basic Education Compliance webpage, you can see highlights, the section that presents the most relevant and the newest material added to it. You can see my contact information. You can see a link to a sample survey. And as you scroll down, go down the page, you will see the links to the matrix, the newest matrix, to the Basic Education Compliance reports, to the latest board meeting presentations that have been completed and submitted. And one more, probably another thing that I would like to emphasize is located in our last presentation slide, and it's related to our communication review. So as we start collect compliance, approximately every 7 to 10 days, we upload and update an Excel file, with all the basic education compliance information on our website on the Basic Education Compliance webpage. You can find your district there and the status of certification. You can visit the webpage also in case you need a link, and the links that you have been provided with directly through your email may not be working. It happens sometimes. So you can visit the webpage and get access directly to the link to fill out the survey, to complete it and to submit it, and to look at the status of your school district. I think that I have completed my short presentation. I am going to proceed and answer any types of questions that we may have in our audience. I am going to also take a look at the chat. If there are some questions that have not been answered, do not hesitate to ask them once again. We have a lot of people here today. And yeah.
Viktoria, we have a couple folks with their hands up, and I'll help with that. Once I did want to just note one thing: if folks download the PDF version of the form, and Viktoria mentioned this, but it is very long. You will not answer all of those questions in most cases because we use logic in the survey to limit which questions you have to answer. So in many cases, you won't have to answer all those questions, and I just want to reiterate that because it can be daunting if you just download that form.
Yes. And some school districts,
so
yeah, some school districts prefer to work on the questions of the survey as a team, and we understand it. But yeah, be mindful of your time because some of the questions you are working on, they may not be even asked.
Yeah, and then just the one that the question just popped up in chat. Yes, this is for 23-24 school year.
Yes.
And then there was a question about skip logic as well, and we haven't figured out how to do that in our survey form. We'd love to do that, but we haven't figured that out. So I think Tony was first with his hand up, and I'll turn on your. I think you should be able to speak now. You have to unmute though.
Sorry, I don't know why it showed my hand up. I don't have a question. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So we'll go to Charles then.
Okay. So we have a question asking us about the due dates. All right. So I don't know which way is going to be a better way to go, whether we should pull out a slide or just me giving the dates, just,
Let's pop those in.
Okay.
Charles, do you want to go ahead? Charles had a question too, live.
Okay.
So go ahead and unmute. Charles, can you unmute?
Okay.
Pour my heart out to you. You didn't hear a word.
We can hear you now.
All right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier to be able to just, if you had a couple questions, to call and have a voice on the other line. I guess I'm old school. Is there a direct number we could call if we just had a few questions versus email?
Okay. Yeah, Charles, I can provide you with the phone number at
Great.
this point.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Drop it in the chat later. Yeah.
Yeah, and on this question in there's another one, answer live. The question on the due dates, we'll pull up that slide again maybe, but
Yeah, that's what I
the-
was.
yeah, the due dates are a little confusing because what we've given is a number of dates depending on which board meeting it's going to be considered at. So the final due date is at the end of that list. And let's see, Victoria, you can bring it up. It'll be September
so
for consideration at the October meeting.
Yeah, so pretty much all responses should be provided by August 23rd. And the deadline when final school districts or final certifications are going to be provided is September 7th. Oh, yes, thank you. September 7th. We do encourage you to provide us with the survey responses on or before June 12th, because the next school year is going to be a different school year and you may be tasked with very different assignments. Yeah. And we really appreciate if you have a designated staff member on your team who is going to be responsible for the survey completion and communicate with us.
Yeah, so yeah, Susan, I think recognizing, so we are happy to work over the summer with folks who need a little more help with the survey or need more time with it. If you can get it done this year, that actually helps if there's a new person coming in as well. So
so I would like to emphasize once again, Susan Zetti is talking about the things that should be kept in mind. So the basic education survey is the responsibility of each school district to be completed and provided. The person that you designate in your school district to complete the survey is the person that you know. Okay. The survey is completed and the answers are provided to the Washington State Board of Education so that we can ensure that the school district is in compliance with the law. Okay. In each school district, you have the resources that you can utilize to ensure that you as a school district are in compliance with the law of basic education. Yeah. Any other questions? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at this. So Jessica noted that the superintendent's getting the email. Stephanie responded to that. And so our message does go to superintendents, but once you start, so if you're not the superintendent and you usually fill this out, please ask your soup to forward you the email. And then once you start filling out the survey, there's a place for you to add your email as well as the person filling out the form. And that'll get you notifications for this cycle anyway.
And some of the emails, they bounce. We do understand that changes happen in school districts. We try our best to reach out to new superintendents. I have actually done it recently quite a few times. Yeah, we understand that things happen and they change in school districts. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Looks like Charles has his hands up again.
Yeah.
One more question. Just it would be helpful to have an example or two of seeing how they were filled out before. I'm a new superintendent and doing this for the first time. It's really difficult to not have an example or two to look at as I'm trying to fill mine out. And this would be a really huge help if you could provide or send us an example or two to look at as we try to navigate through this for the first time.
Charles, is my understanding correct that you are talking about the sample survey?
Well, I'm the one that'll be filling out the minimum basic education. Yeah, but you're right.
Okay.
The survey itself.
So what you can do is that you can go to our website and you can look at the sample copy of the survey, if that answers your question. You can look at the sample copy of the survey.
Well, I
Do
have
you
it printed up. I printed up the sample survey. The sample survey doesn't have answers on it and suggestion ideas. I mean, I've printed the entire deal and I've kind of been reading it out by hand. And it just, like I said, it's helpful to see what some other districts have put in as we try to navigate through that for the first time.
So if my understanding is correct, the question is about actually looking at the sample of the survey already filled out, right? Okay. Well, Andrew, what do you think about this particular situation? How can we help school districts with understanding? Yeah, probably this is more like a question about the mechanics of the way the survey works, right? Charles,
Well,
is my
seeing what other people have put in as, and not that we're trying to copy, but it just, if you can see an example of how someone else did it, it sometimes helps guide you as you're trying to do it. It's a little overwhelming first time through as a new superintendent.
okay.
The depth
Yeah,
of,
Victoria, I can chime in here.
Yeah.
So, for Charles there, excuse me, you kind of have two options here. The previous superintendent or the person that filled out the basic education collection last year, they should have a PDF of the submission that was made. So that's one thing that you can do is find out who did the submission and then have them forward you the PDF. And as a second option, we saved most of the PDFs from last year. We don't have all of them, but we have probably 90% of them. So if you were to send Victoria or I an email requesting your submission from last year, we can forward it back to you, and that way you'll have a PDF with the responses that were made last year.
Andrew, that's a great idea. That's
Yeah.
absolutely what I'm looking for. And can I put in the chat my email address to you?
Say again. I didn't. You sort of cut out there a little bit.
I'm going to put in the chat my email address. If it's possible, I could have you email me last year's.
Okay, Charles, you know what? Let's just do it this way because, we have such an overwhelming volume of information going through. What I am going to do is that we'll probably go a little bit of a different way into a different direction. Okay. So if you send me just an email asking for the school district's responses for the last year, you will receive an email from me with the attachment with the PDF file for your school district.
Thank you, Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And
another
all the-
request for the
yeah.
same in chat too. So yeah.
All the related information that you were asking before will be attached there. Yeah. And please do not hesitate to visit our website. The same email is located there everywhere. Even if you don't know my email, the contact information, you can get it from the website. It's there, it's embedded.
And I would say, oh, go ahead.
Oh, Randy. Yeah, sorry, Randy. One final thing for people that are going to look at last year's PDFs and whatnot. I just want to warn you that the order or sequence of questions has changed a little bit, and the survey it's there's a few different questions and stuff. So just be careful in following one survey to the other. It won't be a perfect match. The questions have been moved, and just be aware of that.
And another thing is that the survey uses the pretty straightforward logic. You can consider it as an opportunity to reveal your creativity. Yes. If you are very much worried about the types of the responses that you need to provide, but it's pretty much straightforward. yeah, you will not have to spend a lot of time crafting the most perfect answer that you can think of. You just need to provide the answers that are relevant for your school district, and that's it. Nobody's going to look into the quality of the text that you may have to compose in order to answer the question.
So there's a question in the Q&A about how long it takes. And so the survey itself takes about 30 to 40 minutes to complete. However, you may need to do a little research on some questions. And so that's why the save and continue button is there. So the total time may be a little bit longer than that, depending on your circumstances. The prior year survey might help for some folks. I would also say if you're starting from the paper or the PDF, all the assistance is built into the electronic version. So like if you give an answer that may not be compliant, you're going to get additional help resources when you do it online. That's of course not available in the PDF version.
Hey, Randy, I did want to add that some of our district staff that have been doing this for a number of years, that are really familiar with their districts, they can actually fill out these forms in 10 or 15 minutes. If the district is providing all the basic education elements, it becomes a 30 to 40 minute survey. If you're not providing all the elements, or if you've got to provide a lot of additional explanations of activities. So, it really can be done in 15 or 20 minutes if you're familiar with your district.
Let's see. So I see a problem with the save and continue. So we can explore that. Do you want to send it, Andrew? Do you want to pop your email in?
Save and continue button is not about any emails of the link.
But doesn't it send an email link though? They should get something to log back in, right?
Yeah. If I could chime in here, I put a message in the chat earlier. The save and continue doesn't work on page 1. So you've got to go through page 1 and get onto page 2. And then you can, then you'll see the save and continue at that point. So if you're not seeing it after the first page, go to the second page. You should see it in the lower right-hand corner where Viktoria had it circled before. And once you click on that, what will happen is a small box will pop up. You type in the email that you want that link to be sent to. They'll ask you to confirm that. And then a link will be sent to you to that email. If you want someone else to complete the survey, then you can just forward that link to them. And they can.
The other thing to keep in mind is maybe your computer has the types of properties that prevent the actual window to just pop up. And maybe, you would need to go and look into your properties of the page.
Yeah. The other side of it is if you made it through all that and it didn't show up in your inbox, it might be a spam filter issue as well. So that's the other place to look.
Any other questions, please?
While people are thinking of things, I wanted to add, another little, just a little bit more information here. We will be posting the status of all submissions, about every, at least once a week or once every 10 days. And you should be looking at that to ensure that your submission has been received. In some cases, you might have forgotten to hit that submit button. And we do see your submission, but it shows up as partial. And if it shows up as partial, we're making the assumption that you use that save and continue, and you're waiting to have it finalized before making your final submission. If you think that, if your status shows up as partial and you meant it to be complete, and you just forgot to hit that button, you should notify Viktoria of that, and then we can start to process that submission if that's the case.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes one more step to hit that submit button, and it doesn't happen for some reason. Please make sure it happens. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions that you have asked but we have not seen, please do not hesitate to ask them one more time.
Will you put the contact page up one more time, Viktoria?
Stephanie pretty much gave
Oh,
it.
Stephanie. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We got it. Yeah. So somebody's asking about the instructional hours on early release days. So these are the questions that are not related to the topic of our conversation at the moment, which is how to fill out the survey and submit it successfully. These are the individual topics that are related to, questions that you may have in your district. You're welcome to send an email asking this question. Okay. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate this opportunity to communicate with you, to engage with you, to learn from you, and we are very much looking forward to working with you. Thank you.